The port of Lázaro Cárdenas moves too much metal for anyone to love every VIN. Cars roll in, cars roll out. Used sedans headed south, new SUVs headed north, salvage shells stuffed with what no manifest admits. Tow crews, stevedores, surveyors, customs brokers, drug scouts, port police. Too many hands, too many shifts. In that churn lives a job no tourist ever thinks about. The auto transport loader, the guy who actually straps the cars into the shipping container before the box is sealed and lifted to stack. Before I walk you through the full story, I just have a small favor to ask. Make sure to subscribe to the channel, hit that like button, and let me know in the comments, what city are you watching from? It's always amazing to see how far this audience is reaching. That guy is Luis Lucho Aranda, 38, divorced once, pays support on 2 kids he sees 2 weekends a month if the yard rotation lets him off. He's clean enough for port badge access, which in cartel country means he's already compromised. Years ago, a cousin brought him to a side meeting behind a muffler shop. You don't move drugs. You just don't lose the cars we tell you not to lose. The arrangement is simple. When certain export units come through, Lucho makes sure they load in the correct order so a spotter can pull them later in another port. For that, he gets envelopes. Modest, irregular, but vital. Cartels love used vehicles as rolling hides. Gas tanks, rocker panels, tire wells, aftermarket body kits. Every crease is potential space. But high-grade cocaine in bulk usually rides deeper in the chain, disguised inside cut and weld cavities that are almost impossible to detect without destructive inspection. Lucho has seen it all. Fiberglass doors that weigh like stone, floor pans packed with vacuum bricks, airbags full of cash. He logs VINs, weight anomalies, and which brokers move which lines. He keeps a notebook he never shows anyone, a dead man log in case someone blames him for a load gone missing. The day that starts his exit comes on a sweltering Tuesday swing shift during peak export. 3 two-year-old crossover SUVs arrive from an inland consolidation lot under a high-volume broker code he recognizes. But something's off. Transfer paperwork is hand-corrected. Tire chalk marks don't match the lot. Rear suspensions sit a centimeter lower than spec, even with empty cargo space. When he clamps the first one to lift, he feels it. Dead weight in the chassis rails. He taps the subframe. Dull thud, not hollow. Later, off-camera in the wash bay, he pulls the trim plug at the inside rocker with a magnet wand he uses to fish dropped bolts. Magnet snaps. He coaxes out a sliver of sealed mylar scoring white at the edge. Not residue. Product. He doesn't cut. He doesn't open. He reseats the plug and logs the VINs. 3 units hot. He needs to know scale. Night shift favors him. He reroutes the 3 to a calibration lane under excuse of wheel chalk mismeasure. Port weigh pad gives him gross vehicle weight variance approximately 30 kilograms over expected on each. Light differential because factory tolerances float, but combined that's approximately 90 kilograms hidden in chassis cavities. Purity unknown. If it's the premium grade he's seen once before, wholesale northbound value hits approximately $17 million before retail dilution. A number like that changes how cartels behave. Small loads lost get written off or blamed on custom seizures. 90 kilos inside 3 VIN track vehicles? That's controlled cargo, routed, paid for, insured inside the cartel's own ledger. If it disappears and there's a name tied to the load, that name dies. Maybe whole family lines. Lucho could tip federal police. He could look away and load as ordered. Or, if he's suicidal, he could steal the cars and run. But stealing cars doesn't work. Ports are camera grids married to customs databases. Any VIN not on the outbound manifest triggers holds. Any loader tied to a missing unit gets summoned. Worse, the cartel already paid inland for the space. Every handler downstream is watching the paperwork. You don't steal cars. You steal chain control. You make the paperwork say the cars went where they were supposed to go, while the actual metal quietly walks. That night, while the box stack cranes grind in the salt air and lightning crawls out over the Gulf, Lucho sketches something he's never dared. Swap the hot trio into a ghost container, send the clean trio with the listed VINs, and misroute the sealed hot box before it reaches the vessel. If the EDI feed shows the right VINs loaded and sealed, nobody hunts him, at least not immediately. The cartel doesn't look for thieves where the paperwork makes sense. They look for leaks where the chain breaks. He's got maybe one window in the next 48 hours before the ship closes and the inland broker reconciles loads. If he moves, he has to disappear inside 12 hours of the swap before anyone audits weight against VIN photos. For the first time in years, Lucho isn't just protecting a cartel load. He's looking at a way out, with enough product to buy it, or enough risk to end his bloodline. Ports don't just move freight, they move data pretending to be freight. If the data says a car is in a box, and the box is in stack, and the stack is booked to a vessel, 99% of the time everyone believes the data because the cranes keep moving and no one has time to doubt the screen. Lucho's only chance is to make the data tell the cartel's story while the metal tells his. He cannot simply roll 3 hot SUVs off a manifest and hope nobody notices. Export lanes marry the VIN barcode to the bill of lading, the bill to the container to the stack position, the stack to the vessel load plan, and the vessel plan to customs exit records. Break that chain and a dozen alerts go off. The men who deliver his envelopes would know before dawn. So he needs doubles, clean units that can stand in for the cartel cars long enough to clear the database, and a ghost container path, a paperwork corridor that shows movement, while the real load quietly leaves port under another code. He starts with the simplest lie, color plus trim twins. The inland broker handles fleets from insurance auctions and dealer buybacks. There are always near-identical units milling in the bonded overflow yard waiting for space. Lucho knows where they park them because he once got chewed out for blocking a fire lane there. He needs 3 same-model crossovers close enough in paint, wheel style, and dash layout that the quick handheld VIN scan and snap that feeds the export file won't raise suspicion in bad weather or at 3 a.m. Finding matches is easier than convincing the system they belong to the cartel shipment. Here, boredom saves him. Yard clerks often key whole batches manually when barcode stickers peel. If paperwork arrives late, VN strings get cut and paste from emailed spreadsheets. A friendly night clerk, Paula, who hates overtime and likes tips and prepaid phone cards, lets him look at a queue tagged Late Doc Attach. There sit 3 clean units, same model year and color family. Not perfect, but camera lens similar. Their export dates float. No one has cleared emissions holds yet. In other words, movable ghosts. Phase 1 is labeled drift. When the cartel's 3 hot SUVs reach Lucho's lane, he logs their VINs correctly in the terminal handheld. He can't alter that without flags. But downstream, as printed placards go into plastic sleeves on the dash for container loading, he swaps the sleeves, hot VIN placards onto the clean trio, waiting in overflow, clean VIN placards onto the hot units. At line speed, all anybody sees is paper matches windshield. The internal stamped VIN on the frame is buried. No one crawls in a container to read it when 20 other boxes are waiting and rain is coming. This is sloppy security, yes, but ports run on speed more than doubt. He still has to reconcile weight. 3 hot cars heavily loaded will drive a container over its expected tear if anyone cares to compare. Lucho schedules the cartel trio into a 40-foot high cube flagged consolidated service parts with high variance allowances. Then he adds 2 light-stripped bodies and packing cribbing to smear gross weight. For the clean trio that will mask them, he picks a mixed auto plus machinery booking where weight swings are normal. If a delta shows, clerks blame used parts. Nobody digs. The heart of his scheme is the ghost booking. Container numbers are sacrosanct, but terminal software still contains human weak points. Damaged equipment holds, fumigation queues, customs exam lots, and short shipment rollovers when a vessel closes early. Lucho needs the hot car container to fall into one of those administrative sinkholes after its manifest says it was loaded. That means staging it through a satellite terminal and marking it misstowed so the stack plan shows aboard while the box physically sits in a corner yard awaiting correction. Enter Terminal Delta, an older automotive satellite used mostly for overflow and customs exams. It runs on a different yard management system that syncs hourly. If he can get the hot box drayed there under a late seal audit, the main terminal will show in transfer, then loaded, because the EDI update will import the completed status from the wrong field. He's seen it happen when modems drop. The cartel's watchers who monitor the line's portal will see a green tick. Loaded aboard vessel A bound north. Meanwhile, the actual box never touches the ship. He needs a code to trigger that reroute. Watching a supervisor clear screens one rainy night, he memorizes the four-letter status for cust hold seal verify. If applied before stack assignment finalizes, the system spits the container to Delta for examination. The hold can later be lifted post-sale, flagged as manual override, which pushes the loaded status anyway. Translation: the record says the container sailed, the metal sits in a yard no one's watching for cartel loads because it's supposed to be empty. Risk: the cartel may have a port pit boss who physically watches load rows. Lucho has to account for eyes. He starts building noise. Step 1, push the schedule. He tells the cartel runner, a twitchy guy called Mono, that union slowdowns are pushing auto stacks to late cycle. If they want their unit safe, they should check with customs to ensure no random pulls. This plants anxiety. Cartel watchers focus on customs, not loaders. Step 2, manufacture clutter. The night before his planned move, he points security to a forklift hydraulic leak in Auto Shed 3. Hazmat tape goes up. Normal flow detours through a cramped lane where cameras rarely align. That buys him looser oversight on container stuffing. Step 3, throw a federal shadow. Through a burner text to an anonymous anti-smuggling tip line he's used before for a bounty on counterfeit airbags, he reports a rumor of undeclared luxury engine imports tied to a rival gang. This puts legitimate inspectors in the yard sniffing other freight. Cartel spotters see blue uniforms and assume random heat. They back off direct tailing of their own shipment to avoid drawing eyes. With distraction layered, timetable locked, Lucho scripts the swap window. T0, Cartel Trio arrives at his lane for stuffing. He logs VIN scans, but when plastic dock sleeves go on the dash, he swaps them with the clean Trio's paper. Both sets move forward on dollies. Human memory fogs. Day drifts to night. T plus 2 hours. Clean Trio, wearing Cartel VIN numbers, enter container MSCU, dash the number in the cartel paperwork. That box will be stacked, scanned, and, on screen, carry their declared load north. In reality, those cars are empty. Nothing in them but factory panels. T plus 3 hours. Hot Trio, now wearing clean VIN dock sleeves, rolled a spare container TLXU Ghost in a lane marked Parts Overflow, which he tags with the Seal Verify code. That code ejects the box from normal stow list and orders truck dray to Terminal Delta Exam Yard. T plus 6 hours. Main terminal sync sees MSCU container complete. Status goes on stack, booked. Later load planner marks it aboard vessel. Cartel watchers relax. The right container number is in the right column. Customs sees no alarm. VINs match manifest. Weight variance normal for mixed auto. T plus 8 hours. TLXU Ghost Box sits in Delta Yard under seal audit. No one opens it because exam backlog. No one expects high-value contraband in a parts reject lane. Clock starts on Lucho's 12-hour exit. He's not done. He needs post-swap exfil, get the hot box off port before the exam queue turns, and some honest inspector drills the chassis and hands 90 kilos of white outrage back to the cartel. To move any sealed container out the gate, you need an interchange release. He can't fake that at scale, but he can piggyback on a legitimate night transfer run. Delta Yard contracts an after-midnight hauler to reposition empties to a bonded inland depot. Lucho arranges, cash to a dispatcher cousin, to slip TLXU Ghost onto that string, mislabeled damaged, returned to depot. Warehouse at the inland depot is not cartel-controlled. It's sloppy, underlit, and swaps empties by the row. If he's waiting there when the convoy arrives, he can peel the seals, move the SUVs, discard the container shell, and vanish before sunrise. The last thread is family risk. Mono and the others know who he is. If 90 kilos disappear and they connect any timing to Lucho, they will go straight to his ex, to his mother's house in Apatzingan, to his kids' school. So his plan includes pre-lift evacuation. He prepays a religious youth mission bus trip his ex is sending the kids on, northbound out of state, and quietly moves his mother to a cousin's in Tijuana for a health check. On paper, he's still at work. In reality, everyone he cares about is already dispersed before the ghost box rolls. Not stealing cars, they'd kill him for that. Stealing certainty, making every document say the cartel cars loaded and sailed, while the real product sits in a yard no one ties to them until it's far too late. By the time someone cross-checks chassis stamp to manifest stamping, he'll be days gone, And the coke, if he's smart, already broken down, cut, and moved through channels that make it look like a seizure leak, not an inside grab. 12 hours, 3 cars, 90 kilos, 17 million wholesale. One loader whose face no one ever watches until the load doesn't arrive. Just after midnight, Luis Lucho Aranda rode the shift change at Lázaro Cárdenas. By 0015, the 3 Cartel SUVs, now relabeled with their TrueVin placards, rolled into Container 27 to be stuffed into MSCU 725108. Workers hustled, paperwork flashed, nobody slowed. While checking chalk, Lucho palmed the dash sleeves. Cartel VIN cards onto the clean decoy SUVs waiting nearby. Clean VIN cards onto the hot cocaine cars. At line speed, the swap stuck. 00:28, the Cartel labeled but clean trio went into MSCU 725108. Lucho scanned the seal, pre-programmed, so the export system pushed their VINs to the carrier feed. To Cartel eyes, load secured for Los Angeles. In Bay 29, the real drug SUVs slid into TLXU-908614. Lucho keyed the cust hold/seal verify code. The lock stayed open for secondary review, yet the EDI momentarily showed loaded to stack. That status shunted the box to the Delta satellite yard, exactly what he needed. 0045 burner call, box TLXU at Delta Yard. Dispatcher moved it. 110 Lucho ditched his vest, badge dying in his pocket, and ghosted off yard. 0125. At Delta, the night tractor scanned the bogus seal pass and hauled TLXU-908614 out as an empty reposition. No alarm. 0200 MSCU 725108 actually loaded to the vessel Aurora. Cartel monitors saw their VINs depart. Sortowar 230 TLXU 908614 peeled off the port road toward an inland depot. Lucho shadowed it by GPS. 0310. In the dark warehouse lot, he cracked the side gate with a stolen fob and drove the first hot SUV out. 2 contracted tow crews pulled the others. 345 in cover, he stripped headliners, drained the rocker cavities, vacuum-wrapped bricks, 90 kilograms high-grade coke. He replaced weight with scrap metal, snapped panels back. The SUVs, now clean, were shipped as scrap to a breaker north of town. By dawn, he was on a bus to Guadalajara with burners, cash, and product, staged for mid-tier brokers who thought he was still on shift. 12 hours after the swap, he watched the port lights fade from a hillside. $17 million wholesale in cocaine, effectively his. He smiled. Days later, when the Cartel container cleared stateside, crews drilled the SUVs and found nothing. Factory metal only. A back audit flagged the seal-verified diversion at Delta and Luis Aranda's name. He'd moved his family before the ship sailed and was gone. The 90 kilos never returned. In that corridor, everyone remembered, paperwork lies. If you enjoyed this story, make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you never miss the next one.